So Drew, thanks for visiting with us today on Tennessee Power Up. Kind of tell us about you before we get started as far as what your kind of journey's been.
Sure. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. On my end, it's frozen, so I'm waiting for the spinning wheel to stop and I can accept recording. That will happen at some point in time. Am I frozen on your end?
No, you're not frozen on us. You're not frozen on us.
Okay, good. I'll go with it. So thanks for having me on this morning. Welcome my Tennessee partners. I'm excited to meet you and see everybody. I trust. I started my real estate journey coming out of the military in 2003, and I went from serving the Navy to a friend of mine talked me into getting my real estate license after about 6 or 7 failed attempts. And my intention was to go and complete. I had received my bachelor's degree in psychology, so I'm a psychologist technically by education, and I was going to go for my master's and actually look into counseling. And my friend, who had just started his own brokerage, had been in real estate for several years, said, "Yeah, you really should do this." And I said, no, not interested. And this was the real estate agent who had originally helped me buy my very first home. So after much convincing, I thought it might be a means to a financial pathway to pay for additional college and education. Turns out that I never left. So I've been in real estate since 2003. It's in that time, I really found that I enjoyed working with agents on a one-to-one level as much as I enjoyed working with buyers and sellers, until I eventually found I actually enjoyed working with agents, business owners one-to-one far more than I liked working with buyers and sellers. So I began my coaching journey in 2009. I started working, I was one of the very first bold coaches, traveled around the country for 2.5 years teaching that program. I had the pleasure of coming to Nashville a few times. It was one of my favorite stomping grounds or destinations. Also, it was really cool meeting famous people in and out of the airport. And I was the person that you didn't want to meet if you were a celebrity, because I'm absolutely going to get a selfie with or without your permission. So in that time frame since then, I've had the privilege of working with some of the top agents, I think, in the country. I've worked with people like John Maxwell, and I've worked with Diana Kokoska. I've worked with Tony Robbins, Chloe Madonis, and most recently I've done some work with Dave Ramsey. So right now I'm in the process of doing a program with Jay Shetty, author of Think Like a Monk. So as you can tell, I'm a huge advocate for growing yourself, growing your knowledge, growing your basis. If you've been on any of Ben and Chris's calls, especially on Friday, you've heard them talk about the things that we can control in the market that we're in today, or in any market for that matter. You can control your knowledge, what you're learning. You can control the skills and how you're improving and where you're getting better. And you can control the amount of activity or what you're doing with your knowledge and skills. And that alone, those 3 principles of knowledge, skills, and activity will affect ultimately how much you make or your profitability. That's another person I work with, is Mike McCallowich with Profit First. So you can control those things. So just ask yourself, this is kind of a side topic, ask yourself, what am I learning currently? Reading, watching, listening. What am I learning? How am I improving? Working with skills? And what activity am I increasing or changing as we head into the second half of the year? So those things and those principles are controllable in any market. And if you can control what you do, what you learn, and how good you are at it, you can basically control all of your sales. So I want to start today with a question. What business do you think you're in?
I say helping people build wealth through real estate.
Helping people build wealth through real estate. Okay. Anyone else?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Jana Brown. I think it's getting people down a path, helping them, kind of drawing them out into making decisions, and being able to kind of do that more concisely and effectively.
So we're in the business of helping people build wealth through homeownership. We're in the business of helping people make decisions that are going to be best for them. Anyone else? I often hear at this time, we're in the relationship business. We're in the business of building relationships, keeping relationships. That's the business we're in, which I usually laugh at and say, you know, if real estate agents were in the business of relationships, we'd be fired because we suck at keeping relationships. We're great at starting them. You know, we're the most probably, you know, entrepreneurial people out there because we like people in general, and we're great at starting relationships or taking someone that we don't know and turning them into a great relationship where we help people with usually the biggest asset that they own, in many cases will ever own. And then the moment the transaction is concluded, the relationship is severed, and that's it. Call me if you need me the next time, which is, you know, probably the worst way to do business. Yeah, that's often what I hear. It's we're in the relationship business. We're in the business of, you know, helping people. That's true. I'd like you to reconsider what business you're in as we evolve and as we move into the next chapter or evolution of both the real estate industry as well as, you know, the United States economy, home ownership. Just consider, what business are you in? You know, how many of you, what business is McDonald's in? How many of you would say McDonald's is in the hamburger business?
Say real estate.
McDonald's is in the real estate business, but they didn't always believe they were in the real estate business. At one point in time, Ray Kroc thought he was in the hamburger business. He made cents or pennies on the dollar, literally, for every burger that was sold, until he had a consultation. He had basically a coaching session where that person said, you don't seem to know what business you're in. You're not in the hamburger business, you're in the real estate business. And the reason McDonald's is in the real estate business is they understand fundamentally that when you own the piece of land that the property sits on, you control everything. You control the franchise and the franchisee. So McDonald's today, most people don't realize they own more real estate than the Catholic Church, who's been around a little bit longer. And yet, in spite of hundreds of years, McDonald's now owns more real estate globally than one of the largest churches in the world. Why? Because they got really clear what business they were in. If you've been on our Friday calls and you've listened to Ben, you've listened to Chris, then you know the way we're seeing the business change and evolve, we're going to start rethinking what business we are actually in. We're in the business of home ownership. So Ben has a really simple philosophy. He says, everyone lives somewhere, right? It's not rocket science. Everyone does live somewhere. They live in an apartment, a house, their own home, they're renting, they live with their parents or in-laws or family or friends, but people live somewhere. And if we started thinking or rethinking what business we're in, and that we're all of a sudden, how we think about the relationship will also evolve or change. So ask yourself, what would your business look like if you could double or triple your repeat and referral business alone? If you could change that, because most business doesn't, it has missed opportunities. The majority of our businesses, we have missed opportunities within. So two things that are happening in July 13th, that's the date, right, Wes? July 13th, we're doing another $100,000 day. I'm going to encourage you to sign up for that and specifically focus on your database, the people that you have pre-existing relationships with, or there is some common denominator, common element that keeps you together, whether it was a home you sold them or a home you helped them sell, or essentially it's a relationship that you have a friend, a kinship, you know one another, and they would support your business if given the opportunity. just ask yourself, if you could double or triple your repeat and referral business, what would your business look like today? Well, let's take a look and do some data bank math. If you were on our call, I want to say 3 weeks ago, you saw Bob Stewart take someone through, and think of this as the seller business. However big your database is, we can calculate how many transactions should come up from that database in a year's time frame. So just ask yourself, look at your Brivity, how many contacts do you have totally in your database alone? If you look up your county and you research what's the home ownership rate, I think 62 is a little conservative. It's more like 69 in most counties nationwide, or at least 69% is about the home ownership rate today in the US. We just use 62 as an example. So if we said, all right, there are 4,576 contacts in my database, and the home ownership rate in my county is 62%, then it will tell you that roughly 2,837 of the members of my database are homeowners. NAR, National Association of Realtors, says on average about 10% of people will move in any given situation. So if we say, all right, if I've got a database of 4,576 people and 2,830.
Why the public system of better?
Say that again.
Better.
Okay, good. Is how many transactions in a year will live in your database? And you see the math, it's basically 10% of the 2,837, so 284 sellers will live in your database. If you doubled that number, that would show you over 560 transactions in a database of 4,574 if you caught 100% of everything that was coming or going within your database. So do your math. In the last 12 months, how much business did you get from your database or you were able to generate? Using this math, you can screen share, you can shot it, take a picture of your phone. Do the math on your own of what your database would be worth. If you're brand new to the real estate industry and you're just building a database, take a copy of this, because that would tell you what is the potential opportunity that lives every single day within your database. So on July 13th, we're doing a $100,000 dial day. Got a little click happy here. We're doing a $100,000 dial day, and what better way than to focus on the database to make sure you're extracting as much business as you possibly can. Next Tuesday, at no cost to you, we're starting a program, Referred. It's 7 weeks. Usually the forward coaching course is a 14-week program. We've condensed it into 7 weeks specifically for our place partners, and that is no cost to you to join us. It's going to be from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Central Time on Tuesday, or 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern Time, depending upon the time zone. So
What is the normal cost on that referred program? What's their savings, Drew?
$74 is the normal cost. So, you know, our place partnership is actually investing, and they're paying on your behalf for you to attend that program. So please take advantage of it. Hey, join me for an hour a week, and I promise to bring it if you promise to show up. So we know we can extract more business, but let me ask you, what stops you usually from receiving more referrals? What gets in the way of the conversation that we have, or what stops you from receiving the referrals more than 10% based on the database you have? What say you, the jury? What stops you from calling the people that you know more often, or asking specifically for referrals?
Number 6.
Haven't spoken with them since they bought the home. That's a common one. How many of you besides me have ever met somebody, seen somebody, worked with somebody, had a relationship, a friendship with a person, and then time gets in the way of the relationship? But inevitably, however long it's been, how many of you besides me have ever picked up a relationship right where you left off when you saw the person again? Or is it just me? What's interesting is we're the only people that I'm aware of that actually keep track of how long it's been. See, we sold a home for someone a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 7 years ago, and we haven't spoken with them since we sold them the home. Did you realize we're the only ones keeping track? Believe it or not, put our ego aside, these people that we've helped buy or sell or transact in real estate, they're not thinking of us at all. Why? Because they're living their life. It's kind of funny if you think about how often we put our own thoughts or our own drunk monkey, our own conversations in the way of the dialogue that should be had. You know, it's like we get our brain and, well, what I haven't talked with them in a while, or I'm bugging them, or I becomes the common denominator in the conversation. There's a reason people don't think of us as much as we would like them to. There's a thing called Miller's Law. Miller's Law is also known as the magical number 7 plus or minus 2. Really weird word or really weird phrase for a law, but think of Miller's Law as the principle of our immediate memory only has the ability to maintain up to 7 things at one time, plus or minus 2, depending upon the emotional connection. Where this shows up often is, think about, you ever go to the grocery stores for a specific item and you come home without that very specific item that you went in the first place? How does that happen? Well, the principle of Miller's Law says there's only a finite amount of things I can keep in immediate memory at any one time. So therefore, you go to the grocery store, you've got a couple items. If you don't have a list, you're relying on your immediate memory. And then what happens is you're walking through the aisle, you see something, and it triggers a response. You know, we don't have any bananas. We need to get those. We don't have any of this. We don't have any of that. We don't need, actually, we need some bread. We need some eggs. And before you know it, you've come home without the very item you went with. Why? Because my immediate memory got hijacked by emotional triggers or visual responses, and I forgot that very thing that I went to the store with to begin with. So what happens with a relationship is, if we're not in front of the people that we know, we're not in front of our clientele, our forever clients, the same thing happens to them. They have a conversation with a person in their neighborhood, a family, a friend, or even themselves in the mirror. And you know what? I think it's time to move. I think it's time to do something. We're going to do something different. Our family's going to sell, or we're going to buy our first home, or we're going to buy our second home, or we're going to buy an investment property. And they don't think about us because we haven't stayed in front of them with enough different cues, conversations, texts, emails, market report, listing alerts, direct mail, social media, all of the ways it takes today to stay in front of a person. They don't think of us not because they don't want to think of us. They don't think of us because the human brain's not capable of maintaining hundreds of different things at any given time. It's actually a filtration machine designed to help us become more efficient and only focus on the things that are important. So when you think of connecting with someone, what do you make it mean? Do you make it mean I'm bugging them, or do you make it mean I'm going to overcome Miller's Law and stay in front of the people? Truth is, successful people they have fear as well. They feel fear, they have doubt, they have anxiety, and yet it's what they do with those feelings that make the difference. Here's an example of a gritty lady who took a portion of what we're supposed to do as the real estate agent and made that a business within a business. Because the real estate agent is supposed to be the local community expert, the vendor or the service provider, the connector from one person to the other. You know, historically, the real estate agent did the job that Angie's List does today, or Home Advisor, or Homekeeper, or all of those tools that exist today is actually doing the job the real estate agent's supposed to do. See, Angie, back in when the company was founded, she was a door knocker in Columbus, Ohio. She went door to door, knocking on doors and asking for 2 simple things. Do you have somebody that you'd recommend that does handyman work, general contracting, or lawn service providers, landscapers, lawn maintenance, someone who does mows, weed eating, etc. And she built a vendor list. And within the first year of knocking on doors, I want you to really hear that, by door knocking, within the first year, she built a database of 1,000 people, of 1,000 referred or preferred service providers. She said, keep yourself open to change and to feedback. Don't be closed off to it. If you don't improve and evolve, you're obsolete. So her business evolved by starting as a door knocking company to ultimately becoming a service provider to a recommended or referral service that people ultimately paid for. Vendors pay to be on Angie's List, and then we go as a consumer and we are searching for, hey, I need an electrician, or I need someone who does lawn maintenance, or I need a general contractor, or I need a service provider. And essentially, she's doing our job. The interesting thing about Angie Hicks is When Angie went public and they sold the Hold Advisors, this simple database that started as a door knocking company was worth $500 million. And all they were doing is selling a database. That's the power of a database, that when it went public, it was so valuable, it was considered worth $500 million. What's our database worth today? Here's what she said. You need a lot of perseverance. It's the skill set that defined me as an entrepreneur and got me through those times. 5 keys to success: the ability to press through the dark times, perseverance, focus, staying optimistic, and finding ways to restate the same thing in a different way until it finally clicks for someone. Thus, emails, text, phone calls, conversations, face-to-face, client events, direct mail, social media, all of the things we're doing to beat Miller's Law, stay in front of a client and restate the same thing in different ways until it finally clicks for the consumer. It requires grit. It requires us to be resilient. In today's changing times, resilience and gritty is more important now than ever. So define what grit or mental toughness means for you, because Angie said that was one of the keys to build a $500 million business that started as a door knocking company. Essentially, she said, it's being gritty and resilient. So it might be going 1 month without missing a workout would be defining mental toughness for you, or delivering your work ahead of time, or calling a friend every Saturday this month to catch up. It could be dialing 1,000 dials. I mean, the last time we did a 100,000 dial day, we had teams that through Brivity, individuals through Brivity were able to dial 400 plus, I want to say 425 dials through the Brivity dialer, over 100 plus connections in a single day. On Mojo, we had a record of 2,513 dials, 13 hours of nonstop. That requires mental toughness and being gritty. Build grit with small wins. Thing about this is how we respond to extreme situations, everyday circumstances, rising interest rates, changing inventory, buyers now sitting on the fence after you've shown them 200 homes and written 400 offers. Mental toughness is like a muscle. It needs to be worked to grow and consistently develop. Number 3 is build strong habits and stop depending on motivation. Motivation is a temporary thing. Mentally tough people don't have to be more courageous, talented, or intelligent, simply more consistent. See, grit comes down to our daily habits. It's making the call that you want to make. It's knowing that you haven't talked to this person in 2 years and you're going to call them anyway. It's about doing the things you know you're supposed to do on a more consistent basis. And it's about dedicating a daily practice in your ability to stick to a schedule. How many of you besides me have ever felt like potentially giving up? Just know that our mind is a suggestion engine looking for a comfort zone. So consider every thought that you have as simply a suggestion. Hey, don't call that person. You haven't talked to them in 2 years. You know what? The mind is designed to keep you safe. Your mind might be suggesting you feel tired, or is it suggesting you give up? It's suggesting you take an easier path. Your brain is designed to put you in a comfort zone. It's its job. We have to challenge and push ourselves to get out of that zone so we do the necessary work to get what we ultimately want. Know that discomfort is a temporary thing. Relatively time in a normal day week, it's doing a habit over and over again. Your workout will be finished in an hour or two. Your lead gen will be done in an hour or two. Life is now easier than it's ever been. Consider 300 years ago, if you didn't kill your own food and build your own house, you would essentially die, you'd perish. And today we've whined about forgetting our iPhone charger, or the internet is too slow, or I can't find a phone number. Keep in mind that as you're building resilience and grit, you're never going to regret good work once it's done. So be gritty, continually moving your contacts from your general public list. And these are some of the targets. You're getting a sneak peek of some of the topics we talk about through Referred, is how do you take the general public, move it into a target, which is oftentimes where they come in when there are Brivity leads, till you build a network. We take them from a suspect and we connect with that person to see what real estate needs they may have. Through that and our touch plan and our market reports and our listing alerts, we can build relationships, helping people with the real estate needs, build wealth, becoming the expert when it comes to the home, as we're in the business of home ownership. to where we build relationships, advocates, and ultimately fanatics or raving fans. These are the people that would go out and jump on a sword to get others to work with you. Imagine if you had 10 raving fans or fanatics that were so passionate about the work that you do that they would go out and find 2 to 3 pieces of business per year. 10 people could equate to 10, 20, or 30 transactions a year. Imagine how much more easy your business gets. See, Amazon is one of the most or least apologetic companies that I'm aware of when it comes to the number of touches that they will have to stay in front of you at all times. I did the math on this. In the last 12 months, I don't judge us on our shopping. In the last 12 months, my wife and I looked at our emails. We've had 1,348 emails from Amazon. And not one time have I been offended by the amount of touches that Amazon has in place. They email you to see if you got the thing. They let you know when it's on its way. They want to ask how it went. 1,348 emails with an amount of touches that we received in the last 12 months. See, Amazon says we see our customers as guests to a party and we're the hosts. It's our job every day to make everyone important, make every important aspect of the customer experience a little bit better. Jeff Bezos says regarding the Amazon customer experience or the customer-centric strategy. Amazon is obsessed with the customer, and we've got to be equally obsessed with the experience of homeownership. At Amazon, they believe every single day is day one. I'm going to ask and encourage you to treat your database like you would as if it were your day one. See what Jeff has to say. Technology willing.
Okay, I think this one is a very important question. What does day 2 look like? What does day 2 look like? I know the answer to this. Day 2 is stasis, followed by irrelevance, followed by excruciating, painful decline, followed by death. And that is why it is always day 1. Thank you, you guys.
So we rethink our business today. It's always day 1 when you're focusing on the customer. It's always day 1 when you realize we're in the business of home ownership and everything related to the home, everything related to the experience that they have from the moment they buy it, the moment we meet them, throughout the existence of while they're living in that property. And we take back and put Angie out of business. Here's the deal. She's got $500 million. She's not going to be hurting. Our goal is to take that back and become that referral resource, that connector, that community, and take back the role that we should have had since day 1. So our referred course doesn't cost you. Again, that investment is being paid for by our partners with Place, by Ben, by Chris, supporting us to make sure that you're getting the best program, the best education possible. So over the next 7 weeks, start joining us on Tuesday. Here are some of the things, sneak peeks you're going to recover. So I want to get this out on time. Questions, thoughts, ahas? Did I lose you?
Now, one of the things that they always talk about that I thought this program is going to be so impactful for everyone is everybody in real estate talks about where does most of your business come from. It's always your database. And that's why this course is so important, because it doesn't show you how to get now business. It shows you how to cultivate so you don't have to work as hard. If you have someone that calls you up and says, hey, Dorfan, I am ready to list my house that you sold me 2 years ago. That is great to have. I mean, that's the type of business and type of phone call you want to get. You didn't, all you were doing was just staying in touch with them. How's the family doing?
And I don't know about you, I have yet to walk through one end of my house to the other on any given moment in time and not find something that needs to be replaced, repaired, or improved. Unless we sell people the perfect house that nothing ever goes wrong, because they're going outside of our relationship to find service providers, to find the things that they need. And as we rethink what business we're truly in, the business of home ownership, we'll rethink the touch plans and the points. So I trust everyone has an amazingly powerful, productive day. Wes, great seeing you. Thanks for having me on. And I trust it'd be great to see everybody at Referred next week, and then eventually at Build Hell at some point.
Thank you.